I'm Joe, and recording is George, and we're going to show you folks how to make a brisket. All right, now do action again.
Action.
Here before us, we have your standard 20-pound Costco brisket. And make sure you have a nice empty workspace because it's going to get bloody. The steps to make a 20-pound brisket are pretty easy. You just have to follow a few simple instructions. First, you need a sharp knife. This is a carving knife. It's got to be sharp. So you have your sharpener. You always want to sharpen a knife away from yourself at about a 20-degree angle, both sides of the blade, kind of going away from yourself, and that's going to be sharp enough probably. Anyway, got some tin foil. That's where we're going to place our workpiece brisket. Tin foil is fine. It's either that or some butcher paper, either one. And then we've got a bowl here where we're going to combine all of our spices. So I'm going to show you step by step. Let's start by cutting open this Costco size brisket. All right, step one is, let's cut her open. We want to make sure the fat side is up because we're going to have to cut this piece of plastic open, and we don't want to cut into the meat. If you cut into the meat, what happens is you're going to end up seasoning deep down into a cut, and it's going to make that one particular cut a little overspiced, if you know what I mean. So we want to make everything uniform, so let's start by opening it up. It's real simple, just cut along the fat pad, which is on the back of the brisket, and that's it. Next. One other thing you may or may not want is a pair of nitrile examination gloves. These are rubber gloves. You're not going to be reusing them, so they're one-time use. And what I recommend that you do if you want to wear gloves is you put the gloves on and then wash your hands with soap and water so you're working with clean gloves. This is how you wash your hands. These gloves are clean. For this next step, it's going to be kind of messy, so I recommend putting on an apron. What you're going to need to do is get the brisket out of the plastic. What I want to impress upon you is to keep as much of the blood in the plastic as possible. So we're going to kind of pull it out from both sides and leave as much blood as we can in there, otherwise it's going to get super duper messy. So now it's out. Ah, don't touch that. You don't have gloves. Anyway, we're going to take this and put it straight into the trash can. Goodbye. Now we've got our workpiece. So let's take a good look at this piece of meat that we got from Costco. You can see here there's a solid inch of fat right here. A lot of people want to trim as much fat as possible off of it. I do not. I think if you're cooking brisket for 20 hours or so, that fat is going to melt right away. You can also see over here, there's a lot of pieces that are like little, they got little folds and wrinkles. And like I said before, if you don't cut those parts off or kind of make it flat, then you're going to end up having you're going to have clumps of spices in there, and it's just going to be gross if you bite into that part. So we're going to start cleaning it and cutting some pieces off. All right, I've got my super sharp knife, and I've got my workpiece here, and I'm just going to start trimming. So look what I'm doing over here. See, this is a long piece of tissue, and nobody's going to want to eat that. So I'm actually going to cut that tissue off and discard it, along with any other extra tissue. So that's going to end up going in the trash there. Here's a piece also that's going to end up going in the trash. and it is kind of messy. So be aware, it's kind of messy.
What's that stuff?
This is blood. I mean, we are looking at a piece of an animal, so that's bloody meat, and you know, there's veins, there's blood, and over time, it just kind of accumulates in different places. So this is a big old piece of fat right here. I'm gonna cut that off. You can see that's just a giant piece of fat. So we're not too sad about letting that go. Just a big old piece of fat on the edge. It's not gonna hurt anything by letting it go. But the goal is to get, you know, pieces like this. See how this is just a random piece of tissue? All right, this is just one part that I wanna talk about. It's not what I'm doing right now, but it's what I'm about to do. So the reason I want to stop and show you something is look on this side. There's, you know, a lot of this meat is beautiful. It's red and it looks very fresh. But then there's like a little brown spot right here, and there's a little brown spot right here, and it's not a lot, but it's enough to make me, you know, it's not appetizing to me. It's probably totally fine, but I just want to cut that part off. So I just want to do this so you can see me do it, so that you know. See, look what's underneath. Beautiful. Maybe that part that I'm cutting off is just oxidized a little bit, like it just, you know, that part of it hit the air. So I'm just going to cut it off. And what's underneath, of course, is beautiful. So maybe I don't even need to cut this part off, but it just makes me feel better. See? You know, one side of it's kind of brown, the other side of it's perfect. So that's going to go there. And I'm hardly taking any off. You know, we're not wasting anything really. It's just makes me feel good. And then on the end, the very end, I usually take 1/8 of an inch off, just to make sure that, you know, we're cooking a clean piece of brisket. So at this point, we've cleaned our brisket, and we're ready to season it. And you can see what we took off. I mean, that's a pretty big amount of tissue, but that's just going to go straight into the garbage. We don't do anything with that. And now we're ready to season our brisket. All right, the first thing that you're going to see is Heinz yellow mustard. Now, we're not going to put this in a bowl and mix it. Mustard is used as a binder. And what's a binder? It just means when we put our powdered seasonings into this bowl to mix everything up, when we have a nice wet brisket, they're gonna bind to the brisket. So that's how you get your seasoning to stick in the right place.
Like glitter and, yep.
Exactly, this is the glue. What are the ingredients in Heinz yellow mustard? Real simple. It's white vinegar, mustard seed, water, salt, turmeric, and natural flavor and spices. So not a lot of, not very many ingredients in yellow mustard. And don't worry, after you cook a brisket for 15 hours,
it's not going to taste like mustard.
It is not going to taste like mustard. You're not going to taste mustard actually at all. All right, so we talked about a binder. Now let's talk about what seasonings I like to put on a brisket. So for Texas style brisket, there are basically only 4 ingredients. All right, this is our big secret. We like things to be super simple. We don't like to overcomplicate things. But the number 1 ingredient to make barbecue taste like barbecue, and don't tell anybody, but it's paprika. So I'm gonna take this brand new fresh ground paprika, and we're gonna use quite a bit of it. Again, it's one of those things that's gonna just bake onto the brisket. It's gonna give it that nice bark look, but the bark is gonna be mainly paprika. You're not even gonna realize that you're tasting that, but it's gonna taste good. Next, this is a trick that I learned from a Californian, but a little bit of ginger actually goes a long way. So I'm gonna put just a little bit of ginger into the mix, not a lot. You will, when you put ginger into your cooking, you will taste it. So I don't use a lot, but but it's just one of those hidden tricks that I learned from a friend. Next, really important, is chili powder. I don't use a lot of chili powder. It actually can give you a bit of an upset stomach, so I use just enough to where it gives it a chili flavor. And I like to use a little bit more paprika, so I'm gonna put a little bit more. You can't really overdo it on paprika.
That smells so good.
Right? Here's a used up chili powder bottle, so this is gonna go in the recycle bin. And lastly, I like to put cayenne pepper. Actually, it's not lastly, it's second to last. I like to put cayenne pepper. You don't even taste it, but it does give it a little bit of a flavor. People hardly even notice it. I put cayenne, it cooks off. People can't even taste it. Last thing, I like to put rock salt. Some people put table salt. I actually think that's a little too salty. When I put rock salt, and it's just 2 little palmfuls of rock salt. Don't worry about the fact that it's rocks. It's actually going to melt all over. Every space that I put that on is just gonna melt. Everything you see here that I have, we're gonna mix everything up, and it's just gonna melt all over as that fat melts. All right, we're about to get into the binding with the mustard and then seasoning. So I do recommend you put on a pair of gloves. You can see I used pretty much all the seasoning, and I don't think you can over season at this point. It's gonna cook off, it's gonna sweat, a lot of moisture is gonna come off of this thing, but for the most part it's all gonna stick. So let's bring it out to the smoker and put it on. All right, let's check our smoker. Today we're using a 22-inch Traeger. It's got the Wi-Fi connection, so you can see what's going on just from your cell phone. I took my glove off, so everything's clean. We're gonna go ahead and set this thing at 225 degrees, and we're gonna ignite it. Set it, push it one more time, and press ignite. It's igniting. We're gonna take our little cleaner, make sure the grates are cleaned off. All right, we do quite a bit of cooking on the Traeger. That's why it's so dirty, but this is honestly a pretty clean grill. I've seen them pretty dirty. Let's let this thing heat up, and once it's at 225 degrees, we'll put the meat on and let it cook for 16 hours or so. You do not want to leave a dirty countertop when Mama comes back, so I recommend you get you some distilled white vinegar. We put some distilled white vinegar into a spray bottle, and we're gonna spray it down and wipe it off, and probably give it another wipe down after that, but that should clean everything up. We're gonna put the brisket on the smoker, and then I'm gonna stick this meat thermometer into the fat side of the brisket. And
works every time.
Thermometer reaches 160 degrees or so, we're gonna wrap it possibly, or we'll let it keep going to reach 205 degrees. That's when you know it's time to pull it. 205, 205, 205.
And now we have a word from our sponsors, Law Office of Joseph Richards, PC.
Injured in an accident? You need a good personal injury attorney on your side. Law Office of Joseph Richards, PC. helps injury victims on the road to recovery. Call today to schedule an appointment for a free personal injury lawyer consultation.
One thing that I forgot to mention is you better check your drip bucket, because look, ours is almost a little over half full, so we're gonna have to empty that out or swap it out with a new one. Well, we got a little problem. We have the dreaded failed to ignite prompt on our screen. But not to worry, we're not going to panic. We're going to think through the problem. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to shut it down, and then we're going to let it cool down, and that should take about 10 minutes. And then we're going to empty the pellets out of the
Hopper?
pellet container into a bucket.
Our pellet bucket? Right here. Right there.
So this is full of pellets, but we're going to empty it out with this little window right here. And we don't want to open this up until we have our bucket underneath it, because as soon as you open this up, they all come out. And then once the pellets are out, we're going to clean out the ignition tray, the heat tray. So let's shut it down.
Action.
This is how you shut down the trigger. You hold this button until the shutdown cycle is complete. So it takes about 15 minutes, but that's okay. That's how long it's going to take for the whole thing to cool down and for us to empty out the pellets, and we'll be right back. So we're going to open it up and empty out the pellets.
It's gonna be.
Okay, that looks pretty good. We'll close it up. And we'll check out the top. Okay, so we still have quite a few. We're gonna remove this. This is just a sifting grate. Let's open it back up again. I want to empty out all the pellets. That's probably fine. Because here's what I'm going to do next. Let's open this back up one more time. What I want to get is that hole there where all of the pellets go down and feed into an auger, which is basically a screw that rotates and captures pellets and feeds them into the hot plate. So now we do a let's speed it up. Let's fill it back up with pellets. Traeger's reigniting. Just a reminder, don't forget to put your screen back in. This time it's fine, but next time, don't forget. What's our temp? 224.
24.
We have ignition. I'm going to put my scoop back in our
Bucket.
container, our bucket. We may need that later if we run low on pellets. If we run low on pellets, we'll put our screen back in so it's there next time we might need it. This is called a hopper. The hopper is going to get low probably tomorrow. It's about 9:30 p.m. right now. This is called a midnight brisket. So it's going to go in a little bit early because it's a 20-pound brisket. You might not have seen it, but what I did to clean out the auger and the heating tray was I took a vacuum and I simply vacuumed out the hole where the auger feeds, and that seemed to have done the trick pretty quickly. So our temp is good. We're gonna pop this brisket back in and see you tomorrow.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Good morning. It's 7:30 and we're gonna flip our brisket. So let's take a look at what we have. Oh yeah, looks great. I'm actually gonna flip it so that it gets, look at that, wiggly. You're gonna have to use gloves because it's hot. I'm gonna take this guy off. Just to make sure we get a nice even cook. Both sides. Nice and flat. Back on. So it's not completely wrapped, but like this. And put it back in. Plug her in here. And we're going to set our probe alarm at I'm going to say 185. 185. I just want to know when it hits 185.
It's at 1.
It's at 180. Hey, it hit 185. That's great. So that's actually. Remember, we're going to set our probe alarm for 205. 205. All right. We'll check that.